What's up, YouTube? Gilly Gilly writes comics here. Gonna make this video very short, but also wanna talk about the Marvel legend that is Stan Lee. Um, it's tragic, the news about him passing. You almost think that a guy his caliber would downright almost live forever. Especially considering his multitude of awesomely done cameos that we've seen in the Marvel films. But for me, my most favorite Stan Lee cameo is just recently. I guess his most recent one is the Spider-Man 4 video game. I'm a gamer at heart. I definitely am. And my parents had purchased Spider-Man 4 for me. I know I'm a grown man, but my parents will still hook me up with the occasional video game. They live in New York, and they came through for a week about, I want to say, last month, and they hooked me up with the game. And Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel superhero, without a doubt. Hands down, by far, for me, he's just number one, Peter Parker. And in reading Spider-Man stories and falling in love with his character, the essence behind him, you get to know the brainchild, the genius that is Stan Lee and the characters he creates. Because I felt right at home with Spider-Man. I felt like I knew him. I felt like he was, like if I met him, like, he would be someone that would actually genuinely care about what I had to say and care about me. And that's something that I credit to a great writer. Stan Lee has no doubt created a library of iconic heroes that we look up to and that we revere and are nothing short of extraordinary and heroic, and give us a beacon of light in a world where we feel, helpless and lost. We feel like we could escape with these characters that to us seem real, and I credit that to Stan Lee's genius. And that's a tribute to who he is as a creator and what he means to me. Every time I picked up a Spider-Man book, and always, you see the Stan Lee presents Stan Lee and me, I was always wondering, who the heck is Stan Lee? I'm thinking it's an Asian guy. But as I got older and I got to, know who he was, he still had a magical charm that you felt, rubbing off, and you felt that you can warm up to. So that's a credit to who he was. I wish I had a chance to meet him, but in getting close to his creations and being close to what he did with Marvel, there's no doubt that I did in fact meet him. And he's just an amazing man, a legend among legends, the Marvel legend. And his passing is without a doubt, it will be missed and very sad. He was a great a great contribution to my childhood. And kids nowadays will miss what we had a chance to grow up with, and hopefully we can preserve that legacy. And my request would just to be, seeing a continuation of Stan Lee cameos throughout Marvel films, throughout video games, just to see that, upheld throughout. Because I feel if we could, CGI for Star Wars, Harrison Ford, and other, was it Harrison Ford? I guess it was a Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia. We could, CGI her, make her look somewhat, lively. I feel like we can definitely CGI Stan Lee in some Marvel films. definitely in video games, maybe through pictures. I just feel like he will live on. No doubt he's making his heavenly cameo, and no doubt he's not suffering anymore. He lived to 95 years. That's incredible. 5 years short of a century. That's amazing. But he gave me my childhood. He gave me my dreams because he was a writer that was popular. He had a face, and me as a comic book writer, my dream also is to stand with my work in some way, shape, or form, and that's what Stanley did, and he was a part of it, and he lived it, and we were able to experience that and share that as well. So my favorite Stanley cameo, if you, sorry for the spoiler, but in fact, if you have a PS4 and you enjoy video games, I'd say suit up with Spider-Man on the PS4, because that is by far the game where I feel you are 100% Spider-Man. You feel it. You feel everything. It's seamless. The action, the combat, the character. Just you feel like you're in his suit, flying around the city. Swinging around the neighborhood Spider-Man. You feel it. You really do. So the other Spider-Man PS4 games, they never got anything out of me. But this game, when it came out and I did my research, I felt something for it, and I played it, and I'm just glad I did. So I just wanted to touch on Stanley's cameo specifically in this Spider-Man PS4 game. And as it says here, Stanley's Spider-Man PS4 cameo is so quintessentially Stanley, and this is from Gizmodo. And he did love a good cameo, and if you play the PS4, the cameo in the man, when I played, and the cameo just knocked you off your feet. Like, it was just abrupt, sudden, but it left you in stitches. I mean, if you didn't have maybe a tear coming out of your eye just on sheer laughter alone, then I don't know, you missed that opportunity. But it was amazing, and the scene sets up. It's a spoiler warning. I'm sharing Gizmodo's article here because, again, I just want to talk about my favorite Stan Lee cameo. But Spider-Man and MJ, they're on they're like in a breakup, and somehow they get back into. I want to say not together, but a series of events kind of puts them back, on the radar together, and from there on, they're just, they're trying to figure out how to go on with a certain case, and they're at a restaurant, they meet up, they're talking, and we see something going on, and it's literally after this part where we kind of see Stan Lee. And it says right here, it says, Peter dashes off to do his spider thing, right? And the camera pans up and reveals that the cook, right, of course, right? Who else could it be? There's none other than Stan Lee. And Lee, he smiles back at MJ before excitedly adding, "Love seeing you two together. You always were my favorites." And boom! It just hits you so hard. Because, of course, the spark between MJ and Peter. And of course, in the game, they're not together, but they have this moment. Spidey has to leave, Peter has to leave, and then of course, Stan Lee. You always were my favorites. Stan Lee is a legend. One thing I hope I can do in my lifetime is replicate a comic book one shot based on the Marvel method, where I'd write out a summary, or I'd write out something, and I'd be with a talented artist, and he could do some Kirby magic, and create a 22-page one shot based on a well described summary that I'd provide a la Stan Lee. That would be one way I'd love to honor him, and that's just me reflecting on what Stan Lee meant to me, and I know no doubt what he meant to you guys. a legend that will be missed, but will never, ever be forgotten, because he just cradled our hearts in the palm of his hands, and wrote his stories, um, while holding on to them. So I'll leave with that, guys, and Stan Lee, forever loved, always missed.